Yeah, on that note, we kickstart today's meeting so that we can buy as much time as we can. We still have quite a number of um, gaps to fill and some of the module items to cover. You are welcome once again. My name is Samson Akinwale. I'm a seasoned people and data analytics expert, and we've been taking this data class for about 11 episodes now. This is the 11th episode. So for the past 11 weeks, we've been showing up consistently for uh, data interaction and sharpening our skills when it comes to data. So we've done a couple of projects already, about 3 of them. But the feedback gotten from those 3 projects, especially from people who joined newly, is the fact that some of the steps, some of the skills, and some of the knowledge deployed in executing those projects are a bit out of reach for them. So, due to that, we went ahead to restructure the curriculum and bring to the table something everybody who is interested, regardless of what level of knowledge you have in data, can cope with. So, we decided to start from the very scratch of what exactly data is and those basic tools of analyzing data. So please just confirm you can see my screen. I noticed maybe last week at some point my screen was not showing, but if you can see my screen, kindly indicate you can see my screen just to be sure. Yeah, can you see my screen? Just give me an indication, that's fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Also confirm you can see my slide. I may not be able to see that. Let me just open. Okay, so since you are seeing my screen, then you can see my slide. If at any point in time you cannot see my slide again, just let me know. You can interject with your voice so that I will take notes of that. All right. So here is the structure we've been working on. So we have a set of modules from 1 to 10 that we've already structured for us to go through to land us at the end of the day at a very, very comprehensive level of data analytics process and ability to deal with data. So last week we ended module 1 since we've already started the other week before last week. So in the first 2 weeks, between week 9 and 10, we've dealt with the details in Module 1. And today we'll be getting started with Module 2, which is about data gathering and investigation. Thereafter, we'll be going into preparing and cleaning data, moving into transforming data with Excel, then analyzing data using statistics, introduction to relational database using SQL, then introduction to structure query, which is still under SQL. And we also deal with Tableau, which is a data visualization tool. Then we'll deal with ethics and bias in data, then a capstone project at the end of the day. So we've dealt with all of these in the first 2 weeks before now, and we've ended module 1. But one important thing about the module 1 we finished last week is the fact that we were taking through the critical and fundamental steps that an average or any data analyst must necessarily go through while dealing with any data projects. So it all begins with question, asking the question. The question could originate from the analyst himself or the client bringing the data task or data job to the analyst. So there was a question roving around in their mind which they wanted to answer, but they did not have the capability to answer it, even though they have the data. So they reach out to an analyst and had the set of questions they would like the analyst to answer and provide him with the necessary data if they do have it. If not, they probably leave the analyst to find out the data from another source. But more often than not, they have to supply him the data. So the analyst gets the data after having the questions, then moving ahead to investigating the data that he or she has gotten either from different sources or from the client himself or herself. So thereafter, to get the data prepared, analyze data, and present results. So as at the end of module one, we were at the level of getting data, and a question arose in the last class as to uh, what are the various ways we could get data, for instance, even if it pertains to a particular organization that you want to probe into a particular query or inquiry just to bring up some insight, but you do not have the data. And we spoke about either getting the data from the organization, but if that is not possible, we have different sources where data could be gotten. And we made an example of Kaggle, where we could go online easily and get as many data as possible that we need. We'll still necessarily talk about Kaggle in the course of today's class also. Then having gotten the data, then there are a few things that you need to do. You have to start investigating the data. So today's class mostly will be based on investigating data. So that was in the last class. Then we start module 2 today, which is data gathering and data investigation. So we will take deliberate step to move ahead to the next two steps after the one we did last week, which is to obtain and investigate data. So we gather the data and do some basic investigation around it. We could use Kaggle to get as much data set as possible. Maybe it would be a good time. Kaggle is an online environment where you see machine learning experts, data analysts, and AI enthusiasts who come around and collaborate, do a lot of things on that platform. Even beyond getting data, there are a lot of other benefits one could get on Kaggle. Let me see if I can just quickly demonstrate that again. I'm still sharing my entire screen, so just let me know at any point in time if you can see the screen again. So we have kaggle.com. Just go this way to kaggle.com. Yeah, okay, I already have an account, so it signs me in straight away. So this is the interface for Kaggle. Then on your left-hand side, you have some, you have a menu and a set of features that you can work on. You click on data sets, and on clicking on that, it gives you this other interface. And on this search box, you can type in anything you want. Probably you want sales data, for instance. The moment you type sales data, it gives you this feedback. Can you imagine? You have 5,501 data that are sales related. So you could go ahead to filter it more. You can say sales data in probably automobile, let's say oil industry, just to filter it a bit. You can see we have 23 data sets that relate directly to the particular industry that I want to pull out. So you can just pick any of them, and on picking any of them, you have the data come up to you. You click download here. This is just a brief information about the data itself being explained here. To have the data, by the time you click download, it will give you the data. You can specify where exactly you want it to be, but it comes up first in a zip folder this way, this archives zip folder, then you can unzip it or extract the content of the zip and start working on it. So that is just straight way to deal with data extraction or sourcing data from another origin apart from the person giving you the job to do. And as much data as possible can be gotten on that particular platform. Okay, having said that, we'll move ahead to what do we need to do under data gathering and data investigation itself. So under data gathering and data investigation, we have some tools that we have already mentioned at the beginning of the syllabus itself, which we run through the entire syllabus itself. There are common tools that people can easily familiarize themselves with and learn some details about them. And those are the tools we'll be exploring while going through this particular series. The first on the list has to do with Excel, and immediately after Excel, we'll move to the use of SQL as mentioned, and after SQL, we'll go to the use of presenting what you have discovered using some visualization tools. In this case, we have decided to use Tableau. As it was mentioned in the last class, another tool we could have used for visualization is Power BI, but we want to use Tableau this time around just to move ahead. So if we are starting with Excel, what exactly are the objectives that we intend to achieve with the Excel? So describing common software tools in data analytics for this particular sub-module we are dealing with, and to use Excel basic function to gather and examine data. Then we move ahead to explain how variables and values are used in general in data analysis. So there are what we call data and data sets. More often than not, common data that we are familiar with, they come in rows and column, which is the natural arrangement in which data come. I will explain more of that when I open my spreadsheet now and we do a few things. So those are the simple formats and ways in which data come. But apart from just data, we equally have a data set. A data set contains more than one tables. So it means it is a collection of some few data that are just rows and columns, but they are now in multiples, and it can relate to any subject, it can relate to any industry, it can relate to any project as it were. So what tools do we use? I've already mentioned that the tool we use are quite numerous, especially in this age and time, but the most common ones and the ones that are easy to use are the one we are starting with, which is Excel, especially going by the few projects we first did, which some people were trying to ask questions over. Uh, this particular one, can you see, we did this using Excel, not even a standard visualization tool. But there are a lot of processes, there are a lot of steps, there are a lot of tools, calculations, and skills that we deployed to achieve this. And apart from this, we also did this particular project, which we equally achieved. So instead of people having issues with, oh, I didn't understand how you arrive at that. So how did you use the period table over there? Oh, how did you do that calculation that you did there? We have broken the whole process back into this comprehensive module, which I just showed us on the slide. And we are going to take those different steps as individual topics and subtopics on their own and finished all of them. Then when we are done, we go back to project again, where we'll be deploying all of those different skills and knowledge and steps. So while I'm applying them to come up with a visualization this way, it won't be difficult any longer for anybody to go through, because the primary intention of this weekly class is to break data skills into smaller chunks, as small as possible, for anybody to be able to follow systematically. So, having said that, we will move straight away to those three. I've mentioned all these three, which are the Excel and SQL and Tableau that we are going to use. Then we go to Excel. I know a lot of people know about Excel already, but I'm um, taking deliberate pain to still go through these basics, because it will go in record and it can be easily referred to by anybody who will need it. So I decided to go as low as possible just to put it in record, because as time goes on, we also have in mind to do training the trainer approach, where people who have undertaken this class and they have successfully finished the final projects can also become a teacher on their own and further deploy this to other people that are interested around them. We will be equipping them with resources like this and tools. So at that point, we don't need to start racking our brain on what materials or tools to give to them. We already have it right in soft material, and they could also go ahead and use the recordings to follow through what those processes are. So what is Excel? Excel is a powerful uh, spreadsheet technology in the whole of the world, and it's been around for quite a long time. In fact, during my research, I discovered that Excel has been around since maybe 1985, and it's been used uh, extensively for data analysis in small scale businesses and projects. A lot of calculations can be done on Excel. In fact, primarily, what Microsoft intended Excel for was a primary baby for accountants. There is no average accountant that you will see that does not have basic understanding of Excel, because it is a tool for accounting processes. So all accountants, they are well familiar with Excel, although it has grades. So depending on what level of responsibility is required of them, there are standard and higher standard in Excel, depending on what position that accountant is holding. So we are not accountant, but accountant deals with numbers, and that is why they have to use Excel. So invariably, Excel is a tool for dealing with numbers. It helps us to break numbers down. It helps us to come up with some chart and graphs and visualization and calculations around data. And apart from work or any other place, ability to deal with data and make sense of data is even about life. In our normal life, during elementary mathematics, we learned about Pythagoras. And Pythagoras simply summarized the whole universe as the science of numbers. And that's exactly what it calls mathematics. And having ability to deal with the science of number, which is data, which is currently everywhere in the world now, gives you an edge. You can figure out quickly from afar what exactly is not so apparent on the surface. And you can contribute more meaningfully, insightfully for that matter, when discussion arise, and that can give anybody a serious edge at any point in time. And you will not know when such opportunity will present itself. And that is why it matters a lot for one to get well equipped ahead of time this way, which we are already doing. So it's a good one, and I want to encourage everybody who has been showing up for this to keep doing that, and make sure you do not just show up, you ensure you are putting it into practice every now and then to sharpen that skill and be able to give it out to other people who will be interested. So what are we going to learn in Excel? To perform data cleaning, removing blank spaces, and as well as some incorrect and outdated information. We also use Excel to format and adjust data, and also doing some conditional formatting in it. So we can perform data calculations using formulas. We can organize data using sorting and filtering, creating visualization, calculate, summarize, analyze, aggregate data, and what have you. And SQL also in the same way is simply called structured query language. And it is called structured query language because it is a language that can only query a structured or a predefined structured data. If data is not predefined, if data does not have a defined structure, SQL is incapable of being able to extract or query anything from such a database. So it is called structured query language because it is a programming language that can only query a database that has structured tables. However large it is, regardless of the relationship between these tables in that particular database, as long as they are structured in sense that they are in the normal table format, rows and columns, let it be uncountable. SQL will bring out relationship from them by just writing few queries or joins or creating tables or creating database. That is the power of SQL. Now, why is SQL important and why do we want to move to SQL after dealing with Excel? The reason is because Excel is limited. Excel has limitation of some slightly over 1,000,000 rows. But for instance, SQL does not have any limitation. The database can be as large as into zillions, and whatever length the database is, SQL will still be able to deal with it. And same goes for Python too. I don't know if time will permit us to go into Python later on, but same goes with Python. So Python can also query a very large, highly voluminous data set. But when data is getting to a particular volume level, Excel is no longer suitable for it. In fact, you start seeing your Excel sheets dragging, hanging, some models not loading on time and other. It is because Excel is not originally meant for too large data set. And that is why as soon as we are done with Excel, we'll go into SQL to see how it is. Then we move from there to Tableau, as initially said. So because of time, I want to quickly move up from here so that we can have some practical visualization of what we've planned to do today. Okay, so what do we do now with Excel? We can do some basic thing, working with cells, rows and columns. Then we also do some management of Excel worksheets. Then we do some data entering and formatting of cell too. Can we go straight to that? So for instance, here is an Excel. I can quickly create a new worksheet here. So permit me to take us through this to just familiarize us with this interface so that we will know what exactly we are dealing with anytime we land here to do any set of calculation and all that. So the first thing we want to do is to walk around, with cells, rows, and columns, and we move from there. So for instance, this is the interface of Excel. And right on the top, we have what we call ribbon. And each ribbon has has sub-menu. The ribbon starts with that word you see called File, Home, Insert, Draw, Down, like that. And the moment you click each of them, there is a sub-menu under that ribbon, which gives you more information about each of the item on that ribbon canvas. Now, aside that, in general, Excel presents to you what we call a default rows and columns, and there are ways to see what exactly is going on. Any parts of Excel that you click, like I'm doing, is called a cell because Excel is a combination of rows and columns. The point at which rows and columns intersect is exactly what we call a cell in Excel. And for instance, where I'm clicking now is called a cell. So a cell is an intersection point between a column and a row. Now, in this case, it is a point of intersection between column G and row 8. And most of the time, or generally, Excel names cells based on the column and row coordinates. So the column comes first, followed by row. Columns generally in Excel are named using letters, the English alphabet letters, and rows are named using numbers. So the rows and columns come together to give a cell its name. And we will have a box right here that we call the cell name box. Inside the cell name box, it gives you the coordinates of any active cell. And in Excel, no two cells can be active at the same time. Active cell is the cell in which the moment you press your keyboard, anything you press on the keyboard enter that particular cell. It enters the active cell. Active cell is highlighted in green as you have seen it here. It has a rectangular shape and it's highlighted as a perimeter highlight as you are seeing here. So, and that active cell has a name. The name is in the cell name box, just directly under this particular sub ribbon under the clipboard. So to know the cell name, you just check the cell name box to write it right there. That is high 6, meaning that it is on column high and row 6. And generally too, I can decide to either select a column or select a row. In doing that, I will just make sure if I want to select a column, for instance, all I need to do is just to go to the column, which is indicated by letters. On clicking that letter, we call it header. The header for this column D now, it is this D itself. The moment you click on it, the whole of that column D is highlighted. Same way, if I want to select row 5, all I need to do is just to click on row 5. Everything on that row 5 from the far left to the far right is highlighted. Now, what is important is I can expand these rows and columns as much as I want. All I need to do, for instance, if I want to expand or make a particular column longer or wider, rather, make it wider than what it is. For instance, let's say this column here, I want to make it wider. All I need to do is to bring my cursor to the right line on the edge of that E. The cursor turns into double edge arrow. The moment it turns into that shape, it means I can move that particular grid line on here. I can move it to the left, which is reducing it. I can move it to the right, which is increasing it. Same way, if I want to increase a particular row line, I can come to the line dividing the previous row line to the next row line, and I can drag it up and down just to increase the size, just as I've done. And that is how just to move around with columns expansion and rows expansion. What next? You can equally do what we call column addition or row addition. Sometimes some people use these tools I've explained right up here. If I want to do column addition in the version of Microsoft that I'm using, Microsoft 365, it may not appear the same way in your own version of Microsoft 365, but just ensure that if you have any question for clarification, you can ask. So in some version, the moment you click on insert on this ribbon, you could start adding some numbers to determine the number of additional columns you want to make. But for my own version, I don't need to go through that route. I can just use my keyboard, my keyboard to use some shortcuts, or I can just use the tools right here under this cell category. For instance, now if I want to create additional column, I want to create another column. Let me name the column so that it can be clearer. let me say under this E, let me say sales underscore data. Yep. Then increase this a bit. Let me say order underscore category. So I name those two so that it can be apparent that I'm making some changes at your end. I can go ahead and just paint both of them. Now, if I want to create extra column, I want the column to be in between column here and F, which are representing sales data and other category. So I can just come here as it is selected and come to insert. Where is it here? I can say it should insert column for me. You can see column has been inserted. If I undo, it goes back. Instead of going through that route, I can use another route. I've already highlighted it this way. I can just say Control Shift plus. Now I'm using shortcuts. I'm not using the existing buttons on the menu or on the toolbar. I'm using shortcut and it gives me same answer. So whichever one that comes quick or fast enough for you is what you should use. All these things, as small as they are, when we get into real data issue now, we will necessarily need all of these steps, as we may necessarily need to create extra column to do some calculation, and all of those things I do it so fast as if they're actually nothing, but it is good to know how to arrive at them and how to get them done. So undo again, that particular column is gone. I've already removed it. So in the same way, I can equally create a new row. On this row, let me just paint this row so that I can be clear. Um, the next row, let me paint it another color so that I can be clear. I can use, let me use red. Okay, so in between yellow and red row now, I want to insert a row in between them. So all I need to do is just, I can click one of them this way, come here and say insert row. Insert row, and I have another row already inserted in between them. So that row inserted in between them, I can just paint it differently so that it can be clearer. So I have another row in between both of them. In the same way, I can just say, instead of coming to that ribbon side or the toolbar, I can just come here and say Control Shift plus, like I did for the column, and I have it. Control Shift plus gives me another one in between. I can equally paint it in white to be clearer enough. Okay, so the same way we can remove column, I mean, the same way we can add column, we can equally add rows. And the same way we have been able to add column and rows, we can also remove or delete columns and rows. For instance, I can just select this column F. I can choose to right click on it and press delete. The moment I press delete, that column F is gone. I can undo. Instead of going ahead to right click and selecting delete, I can just do Control minus on the keyboard and it goes equally. Same way, let me undo so that I can come back. All right. Same way, I can just select any row and do and right click on that row, then say delete. That yellow row goes. I undo it. I can equally say, instead of right clicking on it, just highlight it that way and do Control minus, and that row goes. So I undo is back. So those are just simple steps in moving around columns, bringing in columns, removing columns, and adding a few things that you need to add. So I've mentioned the coordinates and the active cells. I've mentioned the cell reference. Cell reference is exactly the coordinate name. For instance, where I have as active cell now is showing on the cell name box here as F15, and that is the reference name of this active cell. Do not also forget that I said no two cells can be active at the same time. Only one cell on a cell spreadsheet can be active. So when you are typing into a particular cell at a particular point in time. Next thing is, so we can type values that either include numbers or letters into cells, and cells can also contain mathematical formulas and functions for performing calculations. So what that implies is that you can type values in forms of letter into cell. It will take it becomes the content for that particular cell. You can also choose to type numbers. It becomes the content for that particular cell. We can also use this Excel spreadsheet for calculation. For instance, let's say, what is the area of a rectangle? So let's say area of a rectangle has two sides, length, and it has breadth. So let's say the length is 12 probably centimeter, and the breadth is probably 7 centimeter. Area of a rectangle is length times breadth. And to do that, what do you need to do? The moment you want Excel to do calculation for you, all you need to do is to first introduce equal to sign. So the moment you press equal to, you have already initialized Excel. You have told Excel to get ready that you want to do calculation. So I've put calculation now. I know the area is length times breadth. And the moment I put calculation, I'll press the very first one that I want, which is length. It has picked length. Notice what it used to identify that length. It's not even using the content of that cell, but it's using the cell reference name of that cell, which is F10. As you can see here, F10. And right on the cell name is also F10 that is there. So what do we need to do next? Introduce multiplication sign this way. After introducing multiplication sign, I come here to pick the second one, which is this. And the moment you press enter, it gives you the area that you are looking for, meaning that the multiplication of length and breadth, which is this and this. So if I need to use the value of this area in another place, that okay, here I want it to be equals to 50 plus area. I will just say equals to 50 plus, I'll go and pick the area. This, the moment I pick it, it picks the value right there in the area. I press enter, it gives me another total altogether because I've decided to add 50 to the value of the area. And you can reference different things in a particular Excel sheet this way. Even in other sheets that are not this, you can just call it from it and do, as long as you are sure you pick the right cell, it will give you the accurate value that particular cell contains. So it is as accurate as this in moving around with calculation. And when you have a table, which we are going to get into shortly, that's exactly how it also occurs. Please confirm you can see my screen. That is so important. Can you see my screen? Hello? Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. Good. Thank you. So next is, yeah, mathematical formulas and calculations in Excel. So how do we change the active cells, moving around with cell name box? Only one cell can be active at a time here. So for instance, if here is my active cell, if you have your system with you as you are, you can also be following this. Any part of the sheet that you click is the active cell. How do you change active cell, or how do you move from one active cell to the other? It's just to move your cursor around this way and it moves. Or just come to the cell name box here and put the reference name of the cell you want to go to. For instance, if I want this particular cell to be active, which is K10, but it was formerly here, and I want K10 to be active. Okay, maybe for any reason I could not click on it. Maybe it was dragging or hanging. I will just come here. Most of the time, this cell name box does not drag or does not hang. I can just come in there. I want to go to K10. Just put K10 there and press enter. Immediately it will go there. Can you see what I did? Anywhere your cursor is the active cell. And if for any reason you want to move from that point to another point and it appears it is not moving as fast as you want, or it is dragging, because sometimes it happens like that in Excel. A shortcut to that is just to come to the cell name box right here on the top left and type in the reference coordinates of that particular cell you want to go to. And how do we get the reference coordinate? You first use the column letter slash the row number. And it is not hard to get at all. In fact, the moment you click anywhere in the cell, just look at the cell name box here. It will give you the reference name for that particular cell. Anywhere you click, for instance, I click here now, it changes it to F18. It will first name the column, which is column F, and row 18. So why are these very simple things necessary? The reason is because when you want to make any calculation, you may necessarily need to pull data from a particular cell, and you need that cell name. The cell name or the reference name of that cell to go to where you need it. And if something wrong is there for any reason, maybe somebody pressed something wrongly, but because you know the cell name that you want, you can easily say that, oh, I actually want G10 to be here, but it's writing G11. We'll change 10 to 11. You just know that something is wrong. You just change that 11 back to 10 because you are so sure that it is in G10 that the value you need lies. And that is where you pick up the value from. And if it changes at the destination end, you will know and you can get it corrected easily. So it's always good to know how to identify what we want and what we need and how to use it at any point in time, such that during audits or during some evaluation, if things do not work as you want it to work and you're trying to check to see what exactly could have gone wrong, you can quickly figure out the name of the cell you wanted and correct it if that is where the issue lies. Next thing is time is going. We have this only one. Yes, that has gone. So selecting columns and row, I think I've equally done that. I've shown us how to select columns. I've shown us how to select rows. Okay, maybe another thing in selecting columns and rows, for instance, I told us if you are to select a column, just press the column header, it is selected. But what if you want to select multiple columns? How do you do that? Sometimes, if the set of columns you want to select are beside each other, it may be very easy to use to just select the first one, press down your shift key, then select the subsequent ones that are beside it. For instance, I'm selecting column B, and I want to equally select C, D, E. As I've selected column B, if I go ahead to just select C straight away, then column B will be deselected. But I want column B to remain selected while I move ahead to have column C as an additional selection. So if I do not press anything, I just select column B this way, then I go ahead to select column C, then column B will become deselected. Can you see? I'm not pressing anything. The first one I did was to select column B, and I want to select column C in addition. I went ahead to select column C again. You can see column B surrendered its selection to C. So what do we do in this case? The moment you have selected the first one that you want and other ones you want to select are just beside it, press down your shift key, then select the rest of them this way. Then all of them will get selected. The shift key helps you to hold down the selection of the very first one while you had the remaining ones. Take notes. It is for additional columns that are right by the side of the initial column you have selected. If unfortunately you want to select columns that are not beside each other or are not arranged serially, there are some other columns in between that you do not want to select. For instance, I want to select column C, G, and H. So in this way, I have selected column C, or let me say D. Let me start from D, column D. And the next one I want to select is column G. If I press down my shift key and I come to press column G, you can see it assumes automatically that column E and F should also be selected before you get to column G. So Excel seems to be telling me that you cannot leave any column in between unselected and you go ahead to select another column after it. It will rather go ahead and help you to select the ones you never selected in the first place before answering your query to select the new one. So these are very important because when we get to real project again, like we have done before, those are part of the skills to be using because there are some things you need to do in calculation and you want to select some rows to the exclusion of other ones. How do you go about it? So same way, just select your column D. This time around, don't press shift key, press control key. The moment you press down control key, then go ahead and press column G. You will see it is now selected. So I can equally go ahead and do differential selection that way and have some in between them for as long as the spreadsheet is. Do not forget, what am I pressing this time around? I'm pressing down control key, not shift key. If I do not want any gap to be in between them, then I can use shift key. It helps to select everything in between without leaving any in isolation. But if I want to do a differential selection, all I need to do is to substitute shift key for control key, then go ahead and pick the columns of choice that I want to get selected. And same thing can be done for rows equally. Okay, I want to select row 8. I also want to select row 9, 10, 11. Just press it this way, hold down your shift key, press down your down arrow. It gives you all the selections serially. But if I want to do differential selection, I select row 9 this way. You have to press the control key and go ahead and start identifying other rows that you want to select, even to the exclusion of the ones you don't want to select. And it works just like I've just done. Okay. The next one. Adding rows and columns, I think I've equally done this one. So I've shown us how to add rows and columns using inserts. Click the arrows, insert. Yep, that has been done. What is selecting a range of cells? Good. How do we select a range of cells? For instance, I'll beat this one down. Okay. So for instance, from A1 to D7, this is D. I select this way and I come to D7. This is a range of cells. And when you have a range of cells selected this way, the active cell is always unhighlighted. Every other one is highlighted. It doesn't mean that active cell that appears unhighlighted is not included in the range. Everything is included together. So that is how to do that range of cell selection. And I can do it here again in any part of the Excel worksheet that I want. Okay, I have selected this way. How do I want to format it? We're still going to formatting. So just come down to your font category size here. This particular shape is to format any cell that you want. So I can say, okay, I want you to give me all borders for that selected region. It gives me border for all of them. Okay, I want you to give me thick line around all of those selected border. I will pick this guy, which is thick outside borders. The outside border become sticking this way. If I want to say, okay, I don't want the inside to have some grid line as it is. I need it. I need the inside to be plain. Can come back here and look for the icon that says no border inside. This way, it removes that. Then if I want to say, let me return that, give me thick line. Yep. Then this selected, come to view. Let's say you should remove some grid lines from it. It removes grid lines so that the whole of that place is neat enough. Undo. Another thing I can do is, okay, do I want to merge some cells right inside here such that instead of this smaller cell as it is like this, I want to make like two cells to become one such that when I'm writing something, it has a larger space for the writing. So I have selected it this way. Let me come down, let me come to the middle so that it can be clearer. Selected it in the middle that way. I want to merge and center that particular, those two cells. So these two cells are no longer two now. You can see it is selecting it as a complete one single cell because I have told Excel to merge and centralize whatever input I want to put in this cell. So I can just say independence. Everything is inside two cells that are matched into one. I can do some formatting on it as I like. So just a few things. We have few time left. Next thing. So I've shown us how to do a range of cells. Like this cell we just did now, it has a name. So it starts from, let's say, G4 to J9. So if anybody wants me to have a range of cells, they can give you the range name. So you can just mention anything. D10, we use colon to indicate range. I can say D10 to F16. F16. So if I want to work on that, I'll just come to this place, D10. So let's say F16. You press enter. Immediately Excel will go and highlight that particular range you have given it. I can change it to D10. No, let me use M10. You can decide anywhere, M10 to Q17. And the moment you press enter, you see this highlighting coming to this side now to identify that particular cell reference. Can you see? It jumps there. So those are different skills and ways to reference, merge, because the entire Excel sheet is a spreadsheet full of calculation, and accuracy is already imputed in the formula behind what is working right on this cell. Okay. What else? Because of time. Selecting the entire sheet. Okay, good. How do we select the entire sheet? For instance, um, Excel has a built-in invisible triangle. The whole of this cell, as large as they are, have I given us the number of rows that an Excel contains? Let me get the accuracy. Just a moment. Excel has, yeah, Excel has 16,384 columns and 1,048,576 rows, meaning that every Excel worksheet, as it is now, we are on an Excel worksheet, and this sheet is sheet 5 on this workbook. There is a workbook. Inside the workbook, we have several worksheets that you can have depending on the job you are using that workbook to do. So here, it means that we have over 16,000 columns. From this A, it keeps going up to 16,000. Then for the rows, we have over 1,000,000 rows for it. By the time Excel gets to that point of saturation, that is, you've used up the number of columns and the number of rows, then it becomes something that will be dragging. It will not load on time again. And that is where other tools come in handy, because those ones are more like, I mean, more or less more robust, and their capacity is almost you cannot exhaust it, as it were, because the more you are trying to do more into it, the more it can expand in a way. So if I want to select the entire worksheet, so Excel has a built-in triangle right here at this edge, just underneath the cell name box. The cell name box is here showing me G13, and that G13 is simply saying that the active cell on this worksheet is G13. Now, I want to select the entire worksheet. Instead of me trying to use my hand to do like this till I get to 16,000 column, no, that's not possible. There is a built-in feature. This arrow you see here, which is a triangle, the moment you click it, the entire 16,000 and over 1,000,000, I mean 16,000 columns plus and over 1,000,000 rows get selected this way. Can you see? By just clicking that particular arrow, it selects the entire worksheet. So that is if you want to, but more often than not, you may not necessarily have to select an entire worksheet. So that's for the feature. We can equally use the keyboard shortcut called Control A to also select the entire worksheet, which I've just done. I didn't use that arrow. I didn't use that rectangular arrow. I just did Control A, and the entire worksheet gets selected. So we need to take note of that one too. And when you are trying to print or make some direct selection on Excel, you have to be sure that the exact portion of the worksheet is first highlighted before you send to print. That is one of the dangers of using Excel. In fact, I have heard about a case of somebody who lost, is it a he or a she? I'm not sure, who lost his or her job as a result of inability to use Excel correctly. What happened to her? At work, I think there was some work on Excel sheet, and they asked her to print that particular work page on the Excel sheet. She just went ahead, look at the page, Control P, send to the printer. And on sending to the printer, don't forget how many columns does an average Excel sheet has? Over 16,000. How many rows does an average Excel sheet have? Over 1,000,000. So Control P and send it to the printer will start printing everything on a 16,000 column vis-a-vis over 1,000,000 rows. So she just realized that she sent to printer and the printer kept working from morning, from the beginning of the day till afternoon, even till they close. So she was afraid. She didn't know what to do. The whole of the paper in the printer was used, or maybe she even went ahead to add more paper because the printer still wanted to print more. She does not even know how to go back into the system and go to printer and faxes and remove the work in queue on the printer that is to be printed and just delete it so that the printer will not keep wasting paper. So people using Excel will know if I want to print, I know Excel has a very large space. I cannot just do Control P. No, 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 no. That is unprofessional. I will have to, I like that particular place, had some grid lines, go to, say, Control P, first preview, and show me how many pages the preview want to even print in the first place. Are they the exact pages I want? If yes, if no, I know something is wrong. I'll come back to adjust my page here just to give me exactly what I need. 2 pages, 3 pages, and you can print those little things out of the vast space Excel worksheet has just by applying the right um, rules and specification to what you are doing. Let me see if we can still cover a bit more before we call it a wrap for today. We've used like an hour already. That's our benchmark. Include numbers and letters can be, yeah, done this, yes, done this, you've done this. Yeah, selecting the entire, okay. Oh, managing Excel worksheet. So we can take up this in the next class and go to more calculations in the next class. So far, I would like us to let me know any question, anything you want me to say again, then get set for more calculation next class. Any question? Yes, please, Victoria.
Hi, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Yes, please,
Thank
you
you
can
so much
address me
for.
as Samson. My name is Samson.
Okay,
Yes.
good evening, Mr. Samson.
Oh, okay, thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you.
Thank you for an insightful section.
You are welcome.
Now, I used to work with like a normal, should I say, as if I'm working with Microsoft. But recently, I decided to go deep into Excel.
Good.
There was this day I was imputing data. And
Yeah.
I forgot, like I did not know. Let me not say I forgot. I didn't know initially that while imputing data, you want to delete, just like you said during the class, you want to delete a particular row. You
Mm,
have to press the delete button after selecting it. Do you believe
mm,
that I had to drag the bottom and imputed it, like added it to the top one to
mm,
seal up that one I didn't want? Now, during calculation, Excel can be funny. Excel had to calculate that one that was hidden.
mm,
I kept asking myself, where was this error coming from? I had to call on my accountant, who is
mm.
good at Excel. So he
Yeah,
then
I told
asked
you,
me, how was
accountant
it
use
before?
Excel very well.
Yeah, yes. So he then asked me, how was this table before now? We're trying to, said, is it that I deleted something? And I told him that I actually dragged it. He said he did not delete now, it's inside there. So he's getting that figure and adding it.
Mm.
Then
That's exactly what
since
happened.
then
So
I had to let.
everything on
Yeah,
that place Excel is still calculating for you because you have not deleted.
yes,
So even after deleting, you
I
still have to save such that that particular operation is concluded
goes
completely.
off.
And
Yes.
Excel is not only dealing with the ones available alone.
Yes. So this is I fell in love with Excel more and I'm still learning more. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that contribution. Thank you so much, Victoria. Any other contribution or comment or question? Okay. If we do not have any other question or contribution, then we can call it a day for today. Francis, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I want to say something. Okay.
Oh,
When we are talking about margin two column and the two rows, so I understand the margin of columns correctly. Both margin the columns in between space and the ones very close to it. But when you are merging the rows, idea when you say the margin of a column, at least when you want to merge maybe B, C, D together, that you can use you can press shift.
yes, shift key.
Yes, and get it together. And when you want to get a space in between, you can use control.
Yes, please.
That. But when you are saying about the margin of the row, I didn't get that one properly.
Okay, just like let's say I want to select row 12, 14, and 16, right?
Okay.
Yes, same thing, just exactly the same process like that of column. You press the
Yeah.
first one, hold your shift key down, press 14, press 16.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
when you are doing differential selection, you hold down your shift key, you hold down your control key. So it helps you to select differentially without going or being forced to highlight serially. But if you don't mind, if you want to select serial numbers or serial rows or serial columns now, just use shift key. Then it will automatically help you to select the next one. Even if you go ahead and select the one after it, it will first help you to select the one you have omitted and now help you to select the next one that you really want to choose.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I gotten it. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Great. Yeah, any other question? Thank you all for your time today. See you once again next class, same time, 6:30 GMT. Then we go into calculations and the next in line in the curriculum we are working with. Have a wonderful week. Happy new month and bye for now.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Bye
you.
for now. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.